Tyson is calling from the northwest, I believe. Mr.
There's
Mayor?
nobody in the south calling. What's going on here?
What's with you people
Hi,
in the
Tyson.
south? Go ahead, Tyson.
I keep looking up. You're not
Yeah.
there.
Go ahead, Tyson.
Okay. Hello. I'm just wondering what I'm just wondering what it's going to take to get the number of the taxis in the city to match the level of economic and population growth we've seen in the last 20 years.
Great question. We have a significant problem with I'll use the past tense, a significant problem with taxi regulation in this city in a number of different ways. And what we have done recently is a few things. Number one is we actually came up with a ratio based on the best practice in other cities of what the cab to population ratio should be. And we were low. And so we have instituted a number of new licenses that are on the road now, that have just gotten on the road, in order to address that. And these new licenses have a number of new restrictions on them that were never in the past. You have to drive Friday and Saturdays after midnight. The owner of the license has to be one of the primary drivers of the vehicle, and so on and so on. I think that's going to make a big difference. The other thing that is going to make a big difference is we've moved to, now it's going to get a bit geeky, but here we go, data-based regulation. Because in the past, for taxis, we had to rely on the taxi companies, on the brokerages, to tell us how things were going. But nowadays, every single cab has a GPS and a meter, a computerized meter in their taxi. And so we've asked for real-time information. So one thing I hear all the time, especially on weekends in December, is I'm calling and calling and calling and I can't get through. And I can't book a cab. And, you know, we were always told that's because there are no cabs because everyone is driving. But cabbies tell me all the time that on snowy days or on Christmas party days, they're sitting around waiting for dispatch to call them. And the problem is there's not enough people answering the phones. And so we had a situation of he said, she said for a long time. And I'm hoping that the data-based regulation will actually help us understand if that's true. And the other thing that we have committed to do is we will keep that cab to population ratio constant. In other words, as the population grows, we'll start to issue more licenses.
Wasn't part of the practice as well to give the exclusivity to associated cabs for the airport, which would free up, in essence, other cabs as well? Wasn't that part of the strategy as well?
You're assuming there was a strategy.
It was no strategy then, Mr. Mayor?
Well, that did happen.
Yes.
And as a matter of fact, that happening did vastly increase the number of cabs that were available for flagging in downtown Calgary only, and mostly during the day. So we solved one problem, but the number one problem I hear about is not enough cabs at night. And our new licensing regime should start to address that, at least at the edges. And I have to say that having gone through Grey Cup weekend and having gone through the first two of the traditional Christmas party weekends, the third one is this weekend, it's still bad, but it is much, much better than it was last year.